Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sake Revolution. This is America's first sake podcast. I'm your host, John Puma from the Sake Notes, also the admin at the Internet Sake Discord, and the guy on the show who's the sake nerd. I'm the guy who drinks the sake.
And I am your host, Timothy Sullivan. I am a sake samurai, a sake educator, as well as the founder of the Urban Sake website. And every week, John and I will be here tasting and also chatting about all things sake and doing our best to make it fun and easy to understand.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Well, John, it is the holiday season.
Yeah.
How you doing?
It is. I'm getting through.
Are you feeling the holiday stress?
You know, a non-zero percent portion of my day involves wrapping things. So, you know, things are moving, things are happening. We're getting there.
Okay, so are you done with your holiday shopping, or is that?
No.
Yeah.
Is anyone truly done with their holiday shopping? I feel like I always end up in the situation where I kind of think I have it all figured out, and then I realize I forgot someone, or I find something else that catches my eye that's like, oh, I have to get them this, things like that. And so the fact that happens with alarming regularity, stress.
Yes. That goes hand in hand with the holidays for sure. But this is the season of gift giving. People need to think about this. And I was thinking maybe we should talk about sake as a gift. Is it a good idea or a bad idea? Have you done it? All that stuff.
All right. Okay. Well, I have both received sake as a gift and I have given sake as a gift. So I've got a little bit of experience with this.
Okay, so we can have a well-rounded conversation about this.
How about you? You often give sake or often receive sake?
I get both. I've actually had people that know me say, I'm afraid to give you sake because you're the sake expert and I don't want to get the wrong thing or buy the wrong sake that might insult you. So, you know, I don't get a lot of sake given to me as a gift, but I often give sake as a gift. Yes.
I too have encountered oh, you're the sake guy, I don't know what to get you, kind of thing. And they don't want to make you, they don't want to offend. And then, that's nice. But at the same time, I feel like it's hard to offend me with sake.
That's true. Not impossible, but difficult. Yeah. So let's talk about giving sake first, because I think I do that a lot for sure. And what type of occasions do you think are good for giving sake as a gift?
Honestly, I've mostly done sake gift giving for Christmas.
Really?
Yeah. So this is very appropriate.
I would say I'm much more of a birthday sake giver. So if friends of mine who are not into sake, their birthday, I often think that sake makes an excellent gift. But I'm also worried that maybe it's a little bit short-sighted on my part, that's my interest, my major hobby. Mm-hmm. And I assume that other people are going to love it as much, but maybe not. I don't know. It's hard.
So wait a minute. You'll get people sake sight unseen for their birthdays, not necessarily knowing if they're into sake yet.
Well, I wouldn't get a gift of sake for somebody if I didn't know they at least enjoyed it or they've asked me about it in the past. You never know somebody's taste inside and out as much as you would know what you personally prefer. So do you get them that surefire beginner sake or something a little more challenging or something kind of pricey or something more accessible? There's a lot of choices you have to make when you pick sake for somebody else.
Yeah. What I like to do, if I know somebody well enough to know a sake that they've had and enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
So like I know like a particular brand.
Yeah.
that they've had. I'll go and buy something expensive from that brand because I feel like when it's a gift, you want to give them something that they wouldn't necessarily get for themselves. And sometimes people will they don't want to always pull the trigger on a really expensive bottle of sake. I don't even like pulling the trigger for myself on a really expensive bottle of sake. But with a gift, it's kind of like, well, here you go. It's like it takes that part of the equation out of the equation.
I really like that line of thinking because it's personalized in that way. It's not just, I grabbed something off the shelf and this is for you, but it really has a story to it. You thought about it. And I think that's good. When I give somebody a bottle of sake for their birthday, I like to say, this sake is from this such and such place and they specialize in this. And I thought you might really like this sake. You might really enjoy this. And I recommend you drink it, with your significant other out of a wine glass and have a great date night at home or something like that. And you kind of set the stage a little bit. And I think that makes for a nice gift.
See, that's also very, very thoughtful because it's like you're kind of envisioning what you're going to have them do with it. And you're really putting a lot into that and setting the scenario.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What about bringing sake for a dinner party? If somebody invites you to their house for dinner, it's customary to bring a gift for the people who are inviting you. And, the classic is to bring a bottle of wine with you. In that situation, do you bring sake?
Absolutely. In fact, there are a lot of situations where if I don't bring sake, people are disappointed. They expect me to bring sake in those cases because it's like again, the sake guy in your friend group. You're kind of, it's all on your shoulders,
Yeah, I think the smaller the dinner party, the more well it's received. I've gone to some larger dinner parties and brought a bottle of sake, and sometimes the people I may not know as well are kind of like don't know what to do with it and are kind of like, oh, thank you, I think. That's definitely happened to me before.
I would be more concerned about the bring it in if it's a larger party and a lot of people have brought wine. At those larger parties, you don't get to all the wine. Like a lot of that wine sits on the side. They drink it months and months later, and the sake is there, and they don't know what to do with it necessarily.
Right.
If it's a smaller event, you're bringing things that people are going to drink at the event. It's a little bit more accessible because then you can kind of guide that experience a little bit. And you're like, get your wine glasses. We're going to pour this. This is from such and such location. It's going to look for this. Blah 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 blah. That kind of thing. And it puts you in a position where you can frame it, I guess would be the right way to put it. You can kind of, this is what this sake is. Where if it's just lost in the shuffle, they're going to find it like 6 months later and like, this bottle of sake that Tim brought. That's been sitting, on their counter.
Yes. Gathering dust.
Yes.
Now, if I gave you the task of going out and buying a bottle of sake as a gift for somebody, what do you look for? Is it the cost, the bottle design, the packaging, or do you go only by flavor, or maybe how much the recipient already knows about sake? What factors influence the sakes you picked as a gift?
Well, as I had mentioned earlier, I do like to pay attention to things that people have enjoyed or at least tasted in the past. And if I find something that they liked, I'm going to go for something from that same maker. And again, something a little more pricey. I do like it when a bottle comes in a box because that's a little bit easier to wrap. It's, you can take a bottle of sake and just put some wrapping paper and a bow on it. But I think that in a box, it's a little bit more presentable. I think that's like, it makes for it shows better as a gift, I think. So I do look for that sort of thing if it's possible. But my focus is always on like the taste experience because that's, but most of the time that's going to be about like what if they enjoy it or not.
Yeah. And there's boxes and then there's boxes. Like you can get the cardboard boxes that are beautifully designed, but then if you go for the super high-end sakes, they come in these like wooden boxes. You've seen that for sure, right?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. That makes a big impression when you bring someone this wooden box and then they open it up and it's got like a velvety Yes.
cushion that it's sitting on inside the box. It's like, what is this?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, Japanese culture, there's a lot of stuff around gift giving. It's a big part of Japanese culture. So I think the packaging designers for a lot of sake breweries keep that in mind. But I agree with you as well that even just a simple cardboard box around the bottle just elevates everything a little bit and makes it so easy to think of sake as a gift.
Mm-hmm. I think so too. What about you? Do you think more about the box or do you think more about the flavor?
You know, if I'm buying sake for someone I don't know as well, I'm definitely going to downshift on the complexity and craziness of the sake, I think. There's certain sakes that are more beginner friendly and more approachable. Maybe something really light and clean, or maybe one of our Yamagata style lightly fruity sakes that are just kind of this joy to drink, easy to drink, not complex, not overpowering. That style is really good to kind of ease someone into the sake world. So I would definitely have that in the back of my mind if I didn't know the recipient all that well. Just give them something really approachable and really easy to enjoy. That would be, something definitely on my mind.
So more of a crowd pleaser in that case.
Exactly. That is exactly right. You know what my other trick is, John? It's like sake plus something. And I either give people like sake in a nice reusable wine tote, or I'll give people a bottle of sake and then a little sake cup to go along with it, or a little sake set. That really goes over well.
Yeah. All right. So it's like, here's the sake and here's something to drink it out of.
Yes.
Yes. All right. All right.
Yes. And if they're not crazy about the sake, then they have the sake set.
Do you ever do like a full set, like, like the little like ceramic carafe with the ochoko cup?
I do. But I try to get something a little more interesting. There's a lot of those little sake sets out there, on Amazon for $12, and they're just not great quality. They don't pour well. And I really like to get something a little bit more unique, or I'd rather get someone like one really nice ochoko instead of a cheap set. So I really want to find something unique that'll stand out.
It's funny. Almost every year for Christmas, my sister gets me a sake set of some kind.
Really?
Like clockwork. Usually
gosh.
something really nice, usually like something that's like restaurant quality or something I've even used in a restaurant. And they're just really nice, really, really well made carafes and cups that go with them. And that's very much in the, I don't know what sake to get you, so here's the thing to drink it out of. And they're fantastic. Every year they're great. I love them every year. So Jennifer, if you're listening, thank you.
Thank you in advance for this year.
Well, I was thinking more of a historical thank you for all the other ones.
Yeah, it is a great supplement to a bottle of sake, a nice little sake set or sake cup. Fantastic. One fun thing that I've done before, in Japan, they have this tradition or this idea of gift giving with furoshiki. Have you ever heard of furoshiki?
It sounds vaguely familiar, but I can't put my finger on it.
Furoshiki is a big rectangular cloth piece of fabric. And you basically can use it to tie it up in different ways and wrap things with what amounts to a reusable wrapping paper. So it's the art of wrapping gifts in fabric. And they have special wrapping techniques for bottles. So you can give one bottle or two bottles, and then you use this beautiful large rectangle of fabric to wrap the bottle. And then that is part of the gift. And then when they give a gift, they can use the furoshiki and gift it further. So furoshiki is really an eco-friendly way of doing wrapping paper. And I loved to see that when I was in Japan.
Nice. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Now, I know that we're talking about gift giving, but I think it would not be an episode of Sake Revolution if we did not also taste and talk about some sake.
Yes, and I think we picked a couple of sakes that we think would make good gifts.
Mm-hmm.
If anyone's looking for specific recommendations, we've got a couple that we're going to taste today that really fill the bill.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what would you like to start with, Tim?
So one of the sakes we're going to taste is the Mizubasho Ginjo. And this is from Nagai Shuzo out of Gunma Prefecture. I think we did an episode on Gunma a while back, and we have tasted this one before, but I am excited to taste it again. This is a Ginjo classification, so not a Junmai, but a Ginjo. That's the alcohol added style, and the alcohol percentage is 15.5%. The sake rice is Yamada Nishiki, milled to 50%, and this has an SMV of +4.
So it's a tiny bit dry. Yeah. And this is a really good time to remind everybody that the alcohol added style, remember, that does not mean they're boozing it up to make it 18% alcohol. This is 15% alcohol. It's a decision they're making to accomplish things with aroma and flavor that they're looking to do. Good
point, Sensei.
You know, every now and again, I like to remind people that while I do play the kohai here, I kind of know a few things.
Absolutely. That is one of the sakes. And why are we featuring this Mizubasho Ginjo again?
I think this fits into that category of crowd pleaser. It is easy drinking and light. It's not overly complex. It's very straightforward. At least that's been my experience. How about you?
I agree completely. But another factor is that it doesn't break the bank. This is a great crowd pleaser for a great price. I think for the quality you're getting, it's a super, super good deal.
That's an excellent point, actually. You can please the crowd and please the wallet at the same time.
This first sake, let's get it open and get it in the glass.
Ooh, my favorite words. Now, I will tell people that this bottle ships in a plastic, very crinkly plastic bag to protect it from UV rays. And we have gone ahead and taken that off prior to the show because the bag is extraordinarily loud.
But it is good for gift giving because it's pre-wrapped in cellophane. So it's beautifully transparent in the glass. Let's give it a smell.
That is so pleasant.
Lovely.
Light.
Soft.
Very soft. A little bit of fruit. It's that, it is that suggestion of the melon is right there. You have a little bit of very, very subtle pineapple almost. Very light. Very nice. As the crowd, I am very pleased.
The crowd pleaser is working. All right, let's give it a taste.
Isn't that just nice?
Lovely as well. Yeah.
Yes.
It's like a warm hug from a friend. So, as you mentioned, this is an alcohol-added sake. It's not a Junmai style. This has a small amount of distilled alcohol added. And when they do that, I find it really does affect the texture of the sake. It makes it more round, and it coats the palate just a little bit more, and it gives you just this whisper of richness that I think wouldn't be there otherwise. And that makes this just so smooth to drink and rounds out all the edges and just makes it really lovely. And again, for the cost, it is a really good deal.
Yeah. I think in the last order of sake I put in, this was probably the least expensive full-size bottle that I purchased.
Yeah, and to give people a sense, is it like mid-20s, right? For a 720.
It was kind of low 20s.
Low 20s. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and prices will differ around the country for sure, but this will run you anywhere between $21 to $25, I think. And for the quality, 50% milled Yamada Nishiki, that's a great price.
And a lot of, I think, broad appeal on this, so that's a great factor as well.
Let's talk about the label for a second, too. This has a very unique label.
Instead of the typical rectangular label that you see on a bottle of sake, this one is actually a triangle, which the way it sits on the bottle is kind of like a pyramid.
Yeah, it's very unique, very eye-catching, and kind of points up towards the cap. It's got some lovely Japanese writing on the label, and it has a silver foil logo. So it's got a lot going for it in its presentation.
Yeah. Looks good to me.
Yeah, and I like what it says on the back label. It says, always serve chilled and in a wine glass for the best drinking experience. And that type of direction on the back label, I think, is really good for this kind of sake. If I received it as a gift and I saw that, I'd be like, oh, chilled in a wine glass. Sounds perfect. So it's just enough direction to the person who may not have as much experience with sake to get them pointed in the right direction, right?
Yeah, I think this is perfect. That kind of thing is, we don't see that on sake labels, do we?
Not that much.
Very rarely do we see some sort of I see like suggested temperatures, but I don't think I've ever seen, apart from this bottle, oh, hey, grab your wine glass.
Yeah.
But wait, there's more. We have a second bottle.
Yes.
That I think goes on the other end of the equation, where it is a very beautiful bottle. It comes in a box.
It does.
It comes in a box, this one. And that's one of the exciting things for me about giving this one as a gift. It is the Hakai-san Yukimuro 3-year snow-aged Junmai Daiginjo. Tim, you've heard of this one, right?
Okay, full disclosure, everybody. This brand is Hakai-san, and I am the brand ambassador for Hakai-san. And yes, so this is
we finally unmasked
This is a sake that I represent in my professional life, but I just wanted to bring it along for this gift-giving episode because it is such a great sake to give as a gift. And we'll talk about why, but John, why don't you give us the stats for the Yukimuro Junmai Daiginjo first?
I would love to. So, as Timothy pointed out, this is from Hakai-san Sake Brewery, and that is in Niigata. The rice that's being used here is there's actually 3 rices that are coming to the party here. Go Hyakumangoku, Yamanishiki, and Yuki no Se. And they're all milled down to 50% of their original size. The alcohol is a touch high at 17%. The acidity is 1.5. And once again, that brand is Hakai-san, where Timothy Sullivan is the brand ambassador.
Yes. And where I worked for 1 year.
Michelle and I went to visit while you were there, and we actually got to see the Yukimuro. So now's a really good time for us to explain what that means.
Yukimuro means snow storage cellar. And Hakai-san built this building near the brewery, and it is an insulated room where they put a giant 3-story tall pile of snow on one side of the insulated room, and on the other side of the room, they have 20 stainless steel sake tanks for aging sake. So the snow is in the room to provide cold to chill the sake during aging. So it's a ecologically friendly way. No electricity is used, no freon, no machines, no vibrations. It's analog system with snow and tanks side by side inside an insulated space. And that harkens back to an ancient way that they used to refrigerate things before electricity was in Japan. They would have these cellars or these storehouses where they would put snow in there, and then they could, in the summer months, the snow would very, very slowly melt, but they could use the cold in that room to keep things cold, and like an old-fashioned ice box. So this is a nod to that history in Niigata, and they're using it to slowly age this sake for 3 years.
And the snow that's in the Yukimuro, that lasts, the one batch of snow they put in lasts the entire summer, right?
It lasts for an entire year. It's a huge pile of snow. It goes deep into the room, and they refill the snow once a year in February. And I would say the pile evaporates about halfway down in the course of 1 year.
Yeah. I got to see this room, and it was an epic amount of snow. It was just absolutely ridiculous. I had seen photos of it, and they did not do it justice when you're standing in the presence of this just utterly ridiculous pile of snow. It's so big. Again, 3 stories of snow. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's more than you think. But this is also, I should say, this is my favorite Hakai-san product.
Is it really?
It is. It is. I really, really enjoy this. Let's talk about this bottle, though. Before we even open it. This bottle is snow white. It is completely opaque.
Yep.
The label is also white, so it's white on white with a very understated logo that just has both English and Japanese. So it has the Hakai-san logo in Japanese on one side, and then on the other side, just very small, relatively small font, Hakai-san Jumai Daigenjo, snow age 3 years, and a bunch of details in Japanese at the bottom. Yeah. It is very, very striking. You cannot look at this bottle and not have it catch your eye. So it is, that aspect of the gift really comes through on this bottle, I think.
Mm-hmm. And the box that comes with this, if you buy it in the gift-giving box, it is the same design. It's white, and it has a little bit of a glossy sheen to it, and then it has very minimal black letters on it, and it's very striking black and white design for the box as well as the bottle.
Yeah. This design is fantastic. I think it really works.
Yeah. All right, should we get it in the glass?
I think we should.
Yeah.
This is not the first cold-aged sake that we've had on the show. And I think we've mentioned in the past when we've had cold-aged sake before, is that when the sake is aged in the cold, it doesn't take on those typical koshu qualities of getting darker in color, getting sweeter in flavor. It, like we're looking at right now, it is kind of the same color and translucency as the Mizabasho.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I'm looking at them side by side, and if I didn't have them in different glasses, I would be in trouble.
Yeah.
Because they look almost identical.
Yeah. And it's hard to believe that this sake has been aged at the brewery for 3 years.
3 years.
And it looks super fresh. There's no caramelization, as you said. There's no darkening of the sugars. That aging process that you normally expect to be happening at room temperature is really slowed down when you bring in the cold element to it. So the temperature in the Yukimuro is about 35 degrees Fahrenheit, just above freezing. And that temperature is maintained steady year-round, summer, winter, all year round. That cold temperature aging is really the key to maintaining the clarity and the really light appearance to this sake.
Well, let's give it a sniff, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
Not as much on the nose here.
Yep. Niigata sakes, especially Hakai-san, can be very restrained when it comes to aromatics.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm getting more of a rich impression on this aroma overall.
Yes, I agree.
There's a bit of concentrated rice aroma. Maybe even something a little bit chocolatey. I don't know if that makes sense to you.
I'm not picking it up personally, but maybe once we taste it.
Yeah, but overall, it's got a rich aroma, but light, very light hand to the aromatics, not effusive or perfumey or anything like that.
I don't know it at all.
All right, let's give it a taste. That's good.
Yeah. Now there is a lot more depth here. That's the very first thing I noticed, having just sipped the Mizabasho a few moments before, was like, oh, like there's so much more going on. It is still very much Niigata. It is still a bit restrained. It's still light. It's not very dry, though.
Yeah, our SMV for this sake is actually -1.
Mm-hmm.
And the SMV, again, that measures the density of the sake. And this has more density than the Mizubasho did.
Yeah.
I find this quite richly textured. And the one thing that comes to my mind when I sip on the snow-aged Yukimuro is this finish that is very gently umami-driven. Like there's a savoriness to the finish that I really, really love. The aging process, those 3 years in the tank under those ice-cold conditions, really concentrate those amino acids that are in the sake, and you get a little bit of concentration, and it makes it rich, and it makes it a little bit savory at the finish, and very full flavored, but in a Niigata way. So the color is clean, the overall impression is clean, but it's rich. It's a Niigata style aged sake, basically.
Yeah. And this is, I think that like for a lot of Niigata sakes, this wants food. This wants to be paired with food, and it's going to stand up to much richer dishes than a lot of other sakes will. That's my impression and has been my experience a bit with this. I'm sure you have a much more detailed idea of what to pair this with, though.
Well, 2 words: red meat. You can bring this sake to the steakhouse, have this with your tenderloin, have this with your T-bone, have it with your creamed spinach, and you will be in hog heaven. Like, this is a sake you can swap with anybody's red wine, and it will not steer you wrong. This sake is so good to pair with non-Japanese food, especially anywhere you'd bring into a medium-bodied to a richer red wine. This can just step right into that, and oh my God, it's so good. And we gave the price for the Mizubasho, and for this sake in a retail store around the country, you're probably going to pay somewhere between $60 to $65 for this. It's a little bit more of a upscale gift, but it is a great gift for all the reasons we talked about.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
I'm so glad we talked about this, because now my Christmas list just got a little bit shorter, because now I have some more gift ideas.
Excellent.
For anyone listening, you know what you're going to get in your stocking this year. All right.
It's going to be Sake Revolution t-shirts, right, Tim?
Yes, that's right. I'm going to use the t-shirts to wrap the bottle like a furoshiki, and you're going to get 2 gifts in one. Yes.
That's actually a really good idea. I might do that.
Idea. All right. John, it's so great to taste with you as always. Thanks for talking about gift giving.
No problem. No problem. The holidays are here, and this was a really good idea. This was, by the way, guys, this was Tim's idea, this episode. I think it was a really good one. Perfect timing to talk a little bit about gift giving, and we've had people ask before about giving sake as a gift, and I think we covered a lot of the questions that we've gotten in the past about that.
Yeah, and it does make a great gift. So just go out there and shop for sake, support your retailers, and you'll have happy friends and family. All right. Well, thanks so much to all our listeners for tuning in. We really do hope that you're enjoying Sake Revolution. If you would like to show your support for our show, one of the best ways to help us out now is to join our community on Patreon. We are a listener-supported show, and we appreciate everyone who's joined us and supported us on Patreon. Thank you so much.
And for that Patreon, you're going to go over to patreon.com/sakerevolution. And there's other ways that you can support us. Right now, listening to us, you're supporting us. We love that. We love that you guys are listening. That's great. But you can also tell your friends, tell your family, subscribe, insist that your friends and family subscribe as well. And of course, leave us a review on your podcast platform of choice.
And if you would like to learn more about any of the topics or sakes we talked about in today's episode, visit our website, sakerevolution.com, and there you can check out all of our show notes.
And if you have a sake question that you need answered, we want to hear from you. reach out to us. The email address is feedback@sakerevolution.com. So, until next time, thank you everybody once again. Please raise a glass. Remember to keep drinking sake and kanpai.